Go.
Hi.
Recording. Hello, good evening, everyone, and welcome to this group coaching session on the topic of self-care and resilience in difficult times, such as the ones we have at the moment with COVID and confinement. So I'm going to share with you the PowerPoint. I have to say what I'm doing. It will occupy the time. Okay, can you see this PowerPoint?
Yep.
Brilliant. Oh, I forgot to actually, I'm gonna mute you every now and then. It's to keep the noise level down, okay? But if you want to intervene, you've got the chat and whoops, what's happening? You've got the chat and yes. Okay. Right, it's going quick. What's happening? All right, pause. I know what I've done. Okay,
Something's making lots of noise.
something is made. Okay, I'm gonna mute everyone. Mute all. And
Salut Thierry.
salut Elsa. Right. Okay. So I've muted you all, and now I'm going to resume. So what's happening? Oh, come on. Okay, here. So the purpose of this session, thank you for joining me, as I was saying, is to give you some tips and ideas on things you can do, you know, to help your, let's say, physical and mental health. Now, this is going on its own for some reason. And so that's one of the first aim of this session, to understand and apply some of the principles of self-care to help you achieve better physical and mental health in times of crisis, develop resilience to successfully cope with confinement, and finally, I have to find the pause button. Finally, if you wish to stay behind, you can practice mindfulness to connect to a place of inner peace and calm. Okay, so moving on. You've probably heard before, you know, I'm sure when you get on a plane, in the unlikely event of a sudden loss of cabin pressure, oxygen masks will drop down from the panel above your head. Secure your own mask before helping others. Now, this is quite an important thing because it seems a bit selfish at first to think, oh yes, I need to think about myself first before I help other people. The reason is actually, if you think a bit more about it, it's quite logical, because you need to be able to, if you want to be able to help more people, you need to be able to sustain your own capabilities. So self-care is all about helping ourselves so that we can potentially help other people who need it. And okay, let's do a bit of science class. I don't know if you liked science when you were at school. It's just a couple of minutes, I promise. But it's just to make you understand how this works. So we have two paths. Research in psychology tells us that there are two paths that we might take when confronted to a weakness or challenge. For example, in terms of weaknesses, you know, COVID-19 and confinement is a major weakness or challenge. So the first path that you can see, it's a bit gray, is, so you've got, it's a bit gray, yes, and we can react by listening to our inner critique, the self-criticism. We all have an inner voice that tells us some negative things. It's actually doing this for a good reason, but sometimes it speaks a bit too loudly and it overtakes our lives. So if you listen too much to self-criticism, for example, oh, we're being confined, this is really depressing, I'm going to put on weight because I can't go to the gym, I'm stuck at home, I'm sorely missing my family, my friends, you know, all sorts of critiques. And if you listen to that a bit too much, then this will turn into what we call self-neglect. Now, self-neglect, in self-neglect state, for example, you will have dark thoughts like, oh, why bother to go to the gym? Because, you know, I'm bound to get fatter anyway. Why bother pay attention to what I eat? Because at the end of the day, that's all I have to, you know, that's all I can do inside my own house. And yeah, I've got so much time on board and all that, you know. So eventually this leads to that. This actually can lead to depression. On the other hand, we can react in a more positive way. So the next step when you are confronted to a weakness is to show compassion towards yourself. I know it sounds a bit like egotist or selfish again, but when you hear this negative voice saying, oh, what's the point and all that, just acknowledge that voice, okay? Just accept that it's there. Don't try to fight it. We don't fight the negative with more negative, because we're just feeding the negative. So, okay, yes, it's true that I can't go to the gym, for example. So I might put on some weight, but at the same time, what else can I do? Okay, so I will still be able to do something about it. Same with the food, for example. Yes, it's very tempting to eat more, but this is only a matter of weeks. So I must make sure that I am reasonable and I look after myself, eating good food, for example. So showing self-compassion leads to self-care, and self-care is something that grows with practice and that places you in a much better state. In a much better state. Sorry. So let's talk a bit more about self-care, and then I'm doing a bit of a general presentation, and then I would like to hear you as well talk. So I will ask you to unmute you in a minute. Self-care, I'm going to state the obvious maybe, but what I'd like you to do is ask yourself, do I do this? When should I do it? Make it specific to yourself. When should I do it? Or if it's something negative, when should I not do it? Here are some of the fundamental needs that we all have as humans. And it starts with air, breathing pure air, water, food, shelter, sleep, and clothing. And now you're going to think, what the hell is he on about tonight? Well, it's not as simple as that. If we could all provide the best quality of all of these for ourselves all the time, then we would be in such a wonderful place. Think of it as 12 weeks. This is roughly what we hear on the news, you know, about confinement, and at least 12 weeks. It's potentially long, let's say, and the impact on the body and the mind can be significant. So we must make sure that we implement in our life good practices that will see us through these difficult times. So I was talking of breathe fresh, clean, pure air. And some of you may think, well, how can I do this? I live in a flat in central London. Where can I get, you know, clean, pure, fresh air? Well, there's, we'll discuss this in a minute, actually. I'll leave it for the moment to the general. Drink water regularly. And I said water, not any other forms of fluids or alcoholic or non-alcoholic fluids. And especially if, like me, you tend to like teas and coffees, make sure that you equate them. So that's, for example, you know, if I drink a coffee, I will make sure I have a glass of water. Eat healthy food and check portions, especially if you exercise less now. Is your home a suitable shelter for you and for your family? How can it be improved? Are you wearing appropriate, comfortable clothing to stay indoors? We'll talk about clothing in a minute again. Well, when I say appropriate for clothing, what I mean also is maybe making the effort to dress appropriately every day as if you were going out or going to work. You need to be able to look after yourself, look at yourself in the mirror and feel good about yourself. So if you're in your pajamas or what do you call them, the lounge suits all day, you might find that you're not really um, appealing to yourself, and this is quite important. My wife Emma, for those who know her, she has a colleague. She was doing an online meeting with him, and he had a very nice white shirt and a very bright red waistcoat, very vibrant. And she asked him, "Oh, you're very smart. Are you planning to go somewhere?" And he said, "No, I've been stuck in my bedroom for the last so many days, and I wanted to cheer myself up." And this is exactly about that. Okay, it's not because we're not going out, we might not see anyone, but we have to please ourselves first. Self-care is also about meeting other types of fundamental needs. And we've already mentioned a little about exercise. We still have the ability to go indoor at the moment, which is great. I know some places need to be avoided because there are too many people, but there's also so much we can do indoor. And I will ask you in a minute what you do. Talking of this, it's also a question of time. For example, now they recommend ideally, you would start with 150 minutes. Now, 150 minutes is 2.5 hours per week. And that might seem to you a bit overwhelming. Now, think as well that walking is considered as physical activity. And if you look at the little, uh, how to say, the little picture with the steps, it's quite interesting to see the impact of walking on the body. It starts from 3 minutes all the way to 90 minutes a day. Or actually, yes, ideally. 3 minutes, your blood pressure decreases. 15 minutes, the blood sugar level decreases. 40 minutes, it reduces the risk of developing coronary heart diseases among elderly people. And 90 minutes outside every day reduces the number of depressive thoughts. So even if you're stuck at home, if you can, while we still can, make sure you go maybe for a walk, and that will cheer you up again. Stick to a healthy routine. That's very important, that we still have a routine. It seems, once again, stating the obvious, but you might have started already to get up later or go to bed later as well. Maybe meal times is not as regular as it used to. Well, we have an internal body clock, so we have to make sure that this clock still works accurately, because otherwise we will pay the consequences, even within a 12-week time frame. So organize your day, plan the next day before you go to sleep. That's another thing in relation with visualization. There's a lot of studies actually in psychology about visualization. For example, they've done experiments with basketball players, and those who weren't practicing but were visualizing themselves throwing the ball in the basket were actually achieving, after I've forgotten how many weeks or days, they were achieving a 15% better result than those who weren't. This is visualization. Also, this has been used for people going on the moon. So because we weren't too sure, that they helped them to make sure they were prepared for that. So another example, and that's the last one, but I think this one is quite incredible. There are some studies that have used the visualization for with cancer patients. That's very interesting, because all they ask them to do is visualize their white blood cells as sharks tearing apart cancer cells. And once again, those who did that had an improvement in their immunity, in their immune system. So organize your day, plan it ahead. And now I'm gonna invite you to unmute yourselves if you want to share some of your thoughts with us about these fundamental needs. So who would like to share some thoughts with us about what they are doing, which is worth mentioning, for example? Anyone?
Okay, I'll go. I'll say
Thank you.
something. Well, I don't really go for walks because for those who know me, I live on an A road and there is still quite a lot of traffic and quite a lot of people who walk on that road, and they don't look particularly careful when they cross you. So I don't want to risk that, but I spend a lot of time. I make sure I spend about 2 hours a day in my garden doing a little bit of gardening, sweeping the patio, doing gardening, weeding, anything to be outside in the sun. And I have noticed that I've been at home. It's my 3rd week now because my school closed before just a few days before the confinement started. And in my 3rd week, I've noticed that it took me about 2 weeks, and I noticed I sleep much better by being outdoors.
Wow. Well, there you go. It does. There are actually some studies about that as well. Fresh air is good, and it helps with sleeping as well.
And
Okay.
it's sunny at the moment as well, so we get a lot of vitamin D as well, probably.
Yep, what a privilege. I've personally, because I do gardening as well, I've stopped taking vitamin D. I try to do, a bit every day, and hopefully that helps as well. Anyone else would like to share?
What?
Yes, please. We're listening to you, Elsa.
Me, I try to have a routine to get up every day at 9 o'clock. It's a bit later than usual.
Right.
Then I do the breakfast. I do the homeschooling for my son, and then I exercise with or without him. Every day I do a bit of exercise. It can be cycling or running because I'm lucky to live in front of there's a green path.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Path.
Yeah.
And I'm doing the weights. I put some live music, some joyful music to encourage me. I follow some video on YouTube. I cook healthy meals every day because I don't want to put weight.
Good.
And I start my work in the afternoon or the evening or the morning.
Wow. Okay.
I try to leave the phone outside of the bedroom. Otherwise, I can stay on my games or on Facebook until 1 a.m. And it's not good. So I try to still go to sleep about 11 p.m.
Yes, because blue light on your screens are not, well, they're not helping you, as you probably know, to go to sleep. Thank you, Elsa. That's great. Lots of suggestions. Anyone else wants to contribute before we move on?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. That's Odile.
Hello, Odile.
Hello. Just to say, I've started myself on Monday doing some jogging, which is something I thought I would never, ever do because I'm much more of a yoga meditation person. So I've started very gently in my local park. I'm lucky to have a park not far, and the Grand Union Canal as well. And yes, it's going well, and I feel I sleep better as well for it. So that's really quite something at the moment, which I would have poo-pooed in the past, jogging, and I don't anymore.
Fabulous. No, that's great. It's funny how this confinement, which is paradoxically, it's a place where we are locked in, it can actually open up our minds to other things. So let's see the positive in it. Thank you very much. I'm going to mute you all again, and we're going to do a bit more about self-care. Right. Continue. So self-care is about staying safe, and that is probably one of the key words in at the moment. It's on everybody's lips, and we need to make sure that we stay safe. So let's have some thoughts about that. Okay, you know, you have to stay at home. You want to protect the people who work in hospitals, anyone, you know, working for the NHS, and anyone helping others, really. So this is our big job, basically, to do. Talking of precautionary measures, when shopping, when going out, how do you deal with that? And also, you don't want to bring into your home, I imagine, the virus. So what measures do you take to make sure that you're not letting the intruder inside the house? Protecting yourself and protecting others, how do you do that? So I'm going to unmute you again, and here's a chance for you to let us know about all these things. Or actually unmute yourselves, because otherwise we're going to have a lot of background noise. Okay, unmute yourself if you would like to contribute. Thank you. Christine, please, can you unmute yourself, Christine? And I would like to know, because I know you do a lot in this department. Can you unmute yourself, Christine? Okay, shall I unmute you? I can see you've raised your hand. That's why someone else wants to take part.
Hi Thierry, can you hear me?
Yes, hello, who's this?
Hi, it's me, Michelle.
Hello, Michelle. Hello.
Like most people, desperately avoiding going out wherever possible. I've been out on 2 occasions more recently, and what I've done is to dig out. I have lots and lots of scarves, which just really sit in the drawer. So I had great fun basically wrapping myself up, putting my sunglasses on, looking totally unrecognisable. So the convenience of that, as opposed to a mask, is you can just take it straight off and straight into the wash bin. And it meant that when I was going to the doctor's yesterday, I had another colour scarf, another colour pair of sunglasses.
Brilliant.
So it's basically something that I'm going to utilise every opportunity to wear these scarves, which have otherwise been sat in my drawer for a long time. Can't do it when the weather's quite as hot as this, but I think it's changing again on Sunday or Monday. So it'll be scarf wearing time again.
Good idea, actually. Thank you for that, Michelle. Anyone else wants to give us some thoughts? I can hear someone speaking.
Yeah, that's me. Hello. Can you hear
Hello.
me? Hello.
Yes.
So when I go shopping, I wear gloves, plastic gloves. I wear a mask. I was lucky enough to be able to order some masks before this all really started so badly. I have a long hair, so if it's windy, my hair ends up in my face, and then I touch my face. So I make sure I tie my hair and I wear a hairband, and I stick my hair under my coat or jacket.
Actually, that's a very important point. Yeah.
Yeah, because otherwise I'm touching my face all the time. So I've got the gloves, the mask, the hairband, the hair stuck in the coat, and I really, really make sure I keep my distance with people. I've only been out shopping twice since this has started. It's like Michelle, I only go if I don't have any other possibility. And then when I get home, I disinfect. I've put some bleach in an empty bottle, an empty spray bottle, and I filled it up with water. And when I get home, I use a wipe, but I spray it with bleach as well, and I disinfect everything I've bought, everything I've bought.
Wow.
And if I've got fresh fruit and vegetables, I put them to soak in water, and I put literally a drop of bleach, but literally a drop. And that because I worked in a kitchen one summer, and that's how they used to disinfect the vegetable and fruit. So I know you can do it, but it literally is a drop. And I let them soak for about half an hour. and then I let them dry, and then I put them away. But because I will have opened my door with my gloves, because I only take the gloves once I've finished. Once I've finished, I take the gloves off and I wipe all the cupboard handles, the fridge handle, the main door handle that I've touched in the process. So that's why I only go shopping once a fortnight, because it takes about 3 hours. But
Wow.
at least, oh, and then I strip myself, put everything in the wash. All my clothes go in the wash, and I always go shopping with trainers so that I can wash them as well. So I wash everything and I have a shower.
Whoa, fantastic. That's a commitment to hygiene and making sure that COVID will not get inside your home.
It's just that, as you know, Thierry, our friends Michelle and Graham, they rely on me and you to do the shopping and all that. True. Because they're vulnerable. So I know that it's not just for me I'm doing it. It's also to make sure I can, as you were saying, totally. Caring about yourself is about caring about others. It's also making sure I can continue to provide their food and everything they need as well.
Exactly, that's the thing. If we are not well, then there will be a chain of people affected. Okay, anyone else wants to contribute before I move on?
Can you hear me?
Yes, Christine, I can hear you.
I pretty much do the same as Christelle. So I tie my hair back during the day and I wash absolutely everything, but I use, for the vegetables, I use soapy water, not bleach. And even my mother has a TV magazine. I bleach the cover of that and then I put it away for 24 hours. And then I give it to her 24 hours after I've bought it. Right. So it's pretty well the same, because I've got a key worker living in the house. So my routine is, from the minute I wake up in the morning, he's already left for work. I clean all the handles, all the railings, everything, the light switches. And then I do it again in the middle of the day, and then I do it again last thing at night, just because I've got a key worker one end and a vulnerable older person the other end. So I'm trying to sort of separate everybody. We're sort of social distancing within the house, actually, trying to keep everybody separate.
But you're right to do so. There's talking of the post, that it just reminded me that someone I know, that an elderly person, he puts all the post in the microwave for, I can't remember, 3.5 minutes or 4 minutes, and apparently that kills any forms of virus as well. But be careful with staples.
I bin the envelope and then wash my hands if it looks important. Otherwise, it waits for 3 days.
Yeah.
I put a box out the front for the postman, so he doesn't have to put the post through the letterbox. He just puts it in a box. I think you've seen my box.
Yes, I've seen it actually. Thank you very much, Christine. Okay, let's move on a bit more, and then you will have a chance again to speak. So before we move on, actually, a quick recap of the key points. So make sure your basic physiological needs are met. That's water, food, breathing fresh air. And if you live in a flat, just open the window. You know, especially with this weather, it's very easy to change the air in a room. It just takes 5 minutes. And at the moment, it's so quiet outside that it's actually enjoyable as well. Dress to cheer yourself up. You're still gorgeous and you deserve to, you know, to show it to yourself. And you can make sure you exercise indoors or outdoors, and think of all of your options and have a routine. So that takes us to the next section of self-care, which is about connection. So another important aspect is communication and staying connected with others. Humans are social creatures. I'm sure you've heard about it. And also, we say in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, we cannot not communicate, which means that even if you choose not to talk to people, people will understand that as a form of not communication. That means you don't want to talk to me. So we cannot not communicate. So in the context of confinement, this is even more of a challenge. And we need to make sure that we keep our connections with other people. So I've got a few questions for you. Do you have a routine of calling certain people? Who can you call when you are feeling down? And who are the people that will cheer you up or not bring you down? Some people might bring you down because they will go into your negativity or they are naturally negative, but other people will cheer you up. So can you think of some people who will uh, cheer you up? Also, we're talking of calling people, WhatsApp, you name it, all the social networks and all that. But think of the most standard form of meeting, connecting with people. We can still talk to people near us face to face. I'll give you an example, a personal example. So I do leave the window of my study open during the day, and this is going to sound very wrong. I could hear my neighbor coming back from her shopping, probably, certainly. And I thought, oh, I'll go and say hello. I was on the first floor. She was next door on the ground floor. So we had plenty of social distancing. And we started a chat about the flowers she just bought and everything. And it felt like, yes, I need this. This is actually nurturing my well-being as much as hers because she lives on her own. So we need to think of the people around us. We are not locked into a box, but we need to be aware of the people around us who we can talk to over the fence, in the garden if you have a garden, or over the balcony if you have a balcony, on the landing if you're in a flat. There are so many other options. Also, another thing you might want to think about is the common topics you can discuss with others. Show genuine interest in what they're saying in their lives, what they do, their hobbies, their family. It's quite important if you want to stay connected that you appreciate what they are living, basically. So anyone would like to unmute themselves and say how they are staying connected, either face-to-face or physically or virtually? Any other suggestions or something maybe I've said that resonates? Oh, Keith,
Yes.
yep.
Yes, all of it actually. I have a very urgent need to WhatsApp for about 2 hours every day, to
Wonderful.
phone friends, and as you say, so important to phone friends who are going to cheer you up, but also sometimes to phone friends that you need to cheer up. I think it goes both ways. So yes, I really feel I need to connect with people more than ever, and I've been in connection with friends both in France and in England and abroad a lot more than normal. So it's a gut feeling that I have. Yeah.
Fantastic.
I
Thank
agree.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Odile. Keith and Milena, I saw a hand raised. Would you like to add something, or do you share the same experience as Odile?
We had 3 birthday parties during this lockdown in our road.
Oh, how did
They
that
were
happen?
parties. They were celebrated in the house by the families, but we were aware that there is a birthday there. So I bought a present for everyone and left in front of the door, sent the text, and when they opened the door, saw the presents and cards, we talked from the distance and wished each other happy birthday and sang the songs and things like that. There was a little girl, she's only 6, and you know how when they're 6 at that age, they really want to have a birthday party, big ones. But what we decided, we all got into our gardens on our decking, and at 12 o'clock, we sang, all the neighbors sang to her happy birthday from our deckings.
That's
So
fantastic.
little things like that. Corona is not good excuse for everything. We can't socialize close to each other, but if we keep the social distance, we still, you still can help to celebrate somebody's special day.
Yes, definitely. Totally agree with you. Thank you, Milena. That's great. Anyone else wants to add something before we move on? I'll wait a little, and if nobody is jumping in, I'll move forward.
Actually, yeah.
Yes. Yes, Odile.
We decided actually to have aperitif with some close friends, but who live, too far away in the province. So we're having aperitif at 6 o'clock on Friday night, by WhatsApp, and that's quite an interesting way of keeping in touch.
Absolutely. So, brilliant. Excellent. Oh, okay. No, that went on its own. I don't know what I've done. Okay, brilliant. Thank you, Odile. Yes, we do the same actually with friends. We use FaceTime, but the same principle as WhatsApp, and we feel good about it at the end because at least, especially some friends we haven't seen for ages, we were supposed to see them at Easter, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was for self-care. Let's talk about resilience. You probably see a lot of this word at the moment. Just making sure we're talking of the same thing when we mean resilience. I have to say it. Okay, I may sound silly, but I signed up for a course in resilience a couple of years ago when I hadn't heard about it before, and somehow I thought resilience, I should have checked the word, was something like perseverance, persistence. And I realized halfway through the course that I must misunderstand the word, and I really misunderstood the word. But actually I discovered a whole area of coaching that was totally new to me and absolutely fascinating because it has such a positive impact on so many of us. Right, so resilience is, I've written a definition, sorry, this is the teacher in me now. So it's associated with inner strength, competence, optimism, flexibility, and the ability to cope effectively when faced with adversity. So a lot of positive things in resilience. The goal of resilience is to minimize the impact of risk factors such as stressful life events. It is about enhancing the protective factors such as optimism, social support, and active coping. Now, active coping in psychology is this refers to a proactive coping style characterized by solving problems, seeking information, seeking social support, seeking professional help, changing the environment around us, and planning activities. So it's the idea that we are being very positively proactive in getting out of the challenges that we're facing. Resilience is not a trait. You're not born with it. Some people might have more of it than others. It actually involves behaviors, thoughts, and actions that can be learned and developed in anyone. So basically, you can change the neurochemistry, all the chemicals going inside your brain. If you have negative thoughts, you're producing more of these chemicals, and eventually you can actually go the other side of the border into depression. If you if you've managed to find a positive thought for each negative thought, remember, you acknowledge the negative thought, but you don't fight it back. You just say, yes, okay. But on the other hand, there's this positive about it. So we have to seek for the positive actively. That's why it's called active coping. And we all have strengths, and this is the beauty of it. We just have to look back at what we've done in our lives, and we just need to transfer the strengths to face the current challenges. Okay, so resilience. Let's talk about resilience. If you work, where are the boundaries between your work life and your personal life? Now, most of us are working from home, so it's very easy to start working kind of halfway through the morning and then still working at 10 or 11 in the evening. where are your boundaries? I would like to know that. If you're alone in your house or in your flat, how do you keep in touch with your family, with your friends, making sure that you are actively seeking to be with other people one way or another? And what resources can you draw from negative past experiences to help you now? So you might have you might have had some negative experiences in the past, but you managed to get out of them. Normally we get out of them. It's just a question of time. What resources did you use when doing that? So please unmute yourself if you would like to contribute to any of these questions. We can start with the simple ones, how do you organize your day if you work? How do you do if you're on your own in your house? Simple ways, simple answers, and then we can build up from that.
I've unmuted myself. Okay. For me, the boundaries for the work is easy because as a teacher, my school has said we're working from 9 till 4. But what I do is, I'm on holiday at the moment, by the way, but 2 weeks ago I was still working. So I would start at 8 to upload all the work for the children and give the instructions, and send back the work I'd marked the day before. But because I teach teenagers, of course, you'd receive their assignments at 4, at 5, at 6, at 7, at 8, anytime in the evening. So I drew the line the first couple of days, even if they sent me their work and I was watching TV, I had my phone and I would just reply to them and say, oh, thank you very much, I'll mark it and we'll send it back. And then after a couple of days, I realized that I had to put a limit to that. So whatever they send after 4, I don't acknowledge it. I acknowledge it the day after, saying thank you very much for sending this. I'll mark it and we'll send it back. So that's for the work. And for the keeping in touch, well, like most people, I use all the technology that we are very, very lucky to have nowadays. If this COVID-19 had happened 50 years ago, it would have been far more difficult for all of us. So I FaceTime my parents twice a day because I should have spent my Easter holiday with them. So I FaceTime them twice a day. We do, like you did, Odile, we do some aperitif with the family as well with FaceTime. And the same with my friends. So I just keep in touch. I live on my own. And on one side, my neighbours are self-isolating, so they've not been out much. But the other day, they were out in their garden, and we started talking to each other over the fence, which was quite nice. And on the other side, I've got a building site, so there's nobody. So I can't talk to a lot of people. But what I do when I deliver the food to my friends who are vulnerable, I take my lunchbox with me, my fishing chair, my little folding table, and I sit about 4 or 5 meters away from them in their garden, and I have my lunch with them, with my own food, my own chair, my own table, my own everything.
Lovely.
And
Absolutely.
I spend half an hour with them, and I'm the only person they see for the whole week as well. So, and we keep our distance anyway, and I don't touch anything that belongs to them. So that's how I do it.
Yeah, fantastic. Yes, exactly. So there are lots of things we can do. It's just maybe we have to be sometimes a bit more creative, as you said, but it is still possible, and we can be reasonable and see people and continue leading a satisfactory life, let's say. Okay, I've just discovered the chat. For the first time, I'm on my Mac computer to do a Zoom, and why the hell, oops, sorry, excuse my French, why did I why did I choose the Mac as opposed to the PC? Everything is different, and I am actively coping with it, let's say. So there we go. Right, let's move on to, well, this is actually, we're already reaching the end, and my goal was 45 minutes. Thanks to you, we made it a good 45 minutes. I would like to leave you, there is something else, but if you don't want to do some mindfulness, you can leave us now. Obviously, you can leave us at any time, but I'm very pleased to see that you've all stayed for these 45 minutes, which is a pleasure to see again. So I wanted to give a metaphor about a lighthouse, and then I couldn't put it into a nice English, with some nice English words. So I found this quote from Mehmet Murat Ildan. He is a Turkish author, and he lives in Istanbul. And he said, "Man must behave like a lighthouse. He must shine day and night for the goodness of every man and woman, of course." And I think this is the whole point of our lives. It's good to be good, but we want to be good also for the others. Like the lighthouse, we don't only light up ourselves, we light up the rest of the world around us. So we need to keep doing this for the time being, and until we've got more light in this world. When I mean, after COVID and confinement. So thank you very, very much for joining me for this. And yes, I found a nice picture. Actually, when I saw that, I thought, yes, this is exactly what we're trying to do at the moment. Something like tarmac has fallen on us, but we can actually grow out of it and rise above it. Okay?
Yeah.
So thank you very much for joining me tonight and for taking part in this discussion. If you wish to stay for the mindfulness exercise, just stay. I will need to switch to another PowerPoint. Well, actually, not to this PowerPoint. I would like to add some music. It's not music, actually, some sounds to make it more interesting for you. So bear with me a second. I'm going to pause sharing for a while. And okay, whoops. Where is it? I've got it on the PC. So I'm gonna have to do something very clever. Can I share? I'll stop sharing here and share here. Right, this one, and share computer sound. Let's see if it works. No, it doesn't work. Or is it because I...
Yeah, it does.
It does. Except that I know what I have to do. Bear with me a second, I'm coming back.
That's nearly cruel at the moment.
Right. Sorry, what did you say, Christelle?
It's cruel to show us this.
I know, but if you don't want to close your eyes, I thought, okay, I have to show you something you will enjoy. I'm going to have to mute you all for this exercise. So why did I choose mindfulness? It's because there's been so many, so much research about it over the last decade or so, or a couple of decades now, and it actually changes the connections in the brain when they do MRI scans, after 8 weeks of practicing mindfulness every day. So it's really worth thinking about that. Okay. I think the sound is actually, I might have to cut the sound over there so you can just look at it. Bear with me a second again. I know I can do this from here. Okay.
Thierry, on t'entend plus.
Can you hear me now?
Oui,
Ah,
maintenant,
yes,
Yes.
yes, we
Oh,
can.
okay. Oh, sorry, I was talking. I muted the wrong one. So I just said I'm going to turn my camera off. You might want to do the same if you wish to do. It's a meditation exercise, mindfulness, and if you're not comfortable, you know, showing yourself, closing your eyes, just do how you feel. Okay. I don't want to be a distraction. That's why I'm stopping the video. And mute all. Okay. So find a comfortable meditation position, either sitting on a cushion, on the floor, or on a chair. Sit tall with your back straight but shoulders relaxed. And let your hands rest in your lap and gently close your eyes. Let's take 3 deep, slow breaths to begin. Become aware of your body sitting here. Notice the sense of contact between your body and the seat beneath you. Notice your feet on the floor. Notice your clothes against your skin. Now, let's consider a metaphor. Within the strong, turbulent winds of a hurricane, the eye, the center of the hurricane, is quiet. There is no wind and no movement there. For a moment, picture this idea in your mind. Can you visualize the strong, turbulent winds of a hurricane and the inner core that is peaceful and quiet? Let's see if you can become like the center of the hurricane. Your current circumstances, your thoughts, your feelings, and the sensations throughout your body can be compared to the winds of a hurricane. Is it possible for you to let go of all these things for a moment so that you are no longer taking part in them, like the center of the hurricane is not taking part in the turbulent surrounding winds? To do this, start by focusing on your breath. Simply breathe in and breathe out. Focus inward. Just like the eye is deep within the hurricane, your eye is deep within you. Use your breath to connect to this part of you. Simply breathe in and breathe out. Stay connected to your breath. If anything stressful happens in this moment, such as negative thoughts, unpleasant feelings, annoying sounds, difficult life events, memories, try to look at them as if they are the turbulent wind of the hurricane, whirling around, continually changing, unpredictable in nature. Notice that you are not them. You are the silent center of the hurricane, the part that is peaceful, despite what is happening around you. You are the silent center of the hurricane, peaceful and at ease. You are not reacting, you are simply observing. Like the wind of the hurricane, these experiences are constantly moving and changing. You, on the other hand, are stable. You are not moving or being carried away by them. As you are breathing, notice how you move more and more towards the center of the hurricane, towards the eye. Just like the turbulent wind of the hurricane, your thoughts, your feelings, and whatever is happening outside yourself is still going on, but you are no longer part of it. You are in a safe, peaceful place. Breathing in, breathing out. As you sit here, connected to your eye, notice whatever arises. Notice the wind of the hurricane, but do not participate. Stay in the eye, notice thoughts, notice feelings, notice sensations. Continue to watch the ever-changing nature of the world inside and outside you. Watch from a distance with curiosity and without judgment. Without reacting to what you see. No matter how intense or bad the hurricane gets, the eye is always centered, calm, and at ease. Even the most turbulent hurricane cannot hurt or harm the eye. The eye is safe. Whenever you feel you need to restore your inner peace, use your breath to connect to this silent part of yourself. Just breathe in and breathe out. It may help you to visualize the hurricane with yourself in the center. It can be difficult to see the eye of the hurricane at times, and sometimes we forget the eye is there. However, it is always there. If we examine closely enough, even the strongest, darkest hurricane, sooner or later, we will see the eye centered and constant. Now, when you feel ready, slowly open your eyes and come back to us. Thank you very much, everybody. I'm going to unmute you all. You have the chance to unmute yourself, actually. I can only offer it. I hope this was something positive for you, and you can reflect about it later on your own. What was it like to connect to the observing self? How do you feel now? Did you resonate with the metaphor of the eye of the hurricane? If it doesn't speak to you, can you think of another metaphor that would resonate with you more? Sometimes during meditations, issues that have been suppressed for some time begin to rise to the surface. So this is quite normal. Just notice them and let go. And I must say, sorry, I think tonight we're probably clapping for the NHS instead of Friday. Yes.
It's Thursday every week.
Is it Thursday? I thought it was Friday.
No, it's Thursday every week at 8.
Oh no, sorry. Sorry. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great Easter weekend, and maybe see you another time. And if you have any suggestions of meetups, I know Kula is happy to run one as well. Is Kula still here? Hello, Kula.
Yes.
Edo, Ise. Yes, Kula is another coach, life coach and business coach. So if you have any suggestions for us, we will be happy to run another session for you. In the meantime, well, have a great weekend, Easter weekend, and keep safe, as they say, and see you sometime.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Jerry. You're still recording.
I have to thank you. I need
Thanks,
to.
Terry.
Au revoir.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Terry.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much,
Bye.
everyone. It was lovely to see. I didn't get to say hello to everyone, but